Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Len Parrish. Len is the Director of, I always have to look, Housing and Community Development. And Len has been a great resource to our multidisciplinary team and to us at the Office on Aging. So we felt it was really important to have them here to talk about housing services as well today. So I'm going to hand it over to Len.
I'm still trying to figure out the mouse.
Oh.
All right, I think I got it.
You good? Okay. I'll sit here just in case.
All right, I think we're good. So thanks for having me today. I see a lot of familiar faces here, so a lot of you may already know a lot of this information, but I'm going to try and give the quick 30,000-foot view of what we do, which has changed in the last few years. And then I brought Lois Lane with me. Lenora Robinson. If anybody saw the State of the County executive refers to her as his Lois Lane, who actually is the point of contact, really, for our agency in terms of referrals and things like that. So when you start talking specifically, like how do we reach you guys, don't call me, because I really probably will not be able to help with any particular client, but Ms. Robinson certainly can. So basically want to kind of give you the spectrum of what we do housing services wise. When this administration took over a little bit over 3 years ago now, the housing agency basically was the voucher programs for the county. They did a little bit more than that, some of the housing counseling and things like that, but essentially that was the main bulk of the program. Within 5-6 months, we changed it to really provide the entire housing spectrum. So anybody that has a housing related issue, we want them to call our office. So that goes from homeless services, and we aren't providing direct homeless services, but we are referring out to HCAA, who is our screening for homeless services, all the way through home ownership, reverse mortgages, mortgage modification, foreclosure prevention, and everything that goes in between. So homeless services into transitional housing, into rental assistance programs, the voucher programs, which we administer a lot of different programs, community development money, which is our home, and CDBG funding, that funds places like Habitat for Humanity, things like that. And then, of course, the housing counseling and livability code enforcement. So my office also runs rental compliance. So if you have a renter who's living in a house that the conditions aren't proper to be lived in, we want that referral to come to us so we can go out and try and inspect it and get it up to code at least. So what do we offer Harford County citizens? Counseling to promote economic mobility, family self-sufficiency, and financial literacy. Ultimately, that's the goal. That's the goal, I think, of all of our organizations, to get people as self-sufficient as we possibly can. So that's really what we do. We oversee a lot of the grant money that comes into the county. So the county, Harford County gets around $23 million a year in operating grants from the federal and state governments. We administer about 13 million of that, 13.5 million through my office. So all of the other offices combined are about 10 million, and we're about 13.5. So we do a lot of that federal state programs. When it comes to grant and aid, we administer another, give or take, $450,000 to $500,000 a year, which last year our grant and aid I think was around the $800,000 mark. Grant and aid is what any nonprofit could apply to the county directly for county funding. It's really like Keep Your Lights On, but it's specific. So in my agency, it's specific to housing. We also do, under community services, youth and children's services, I think, is one, and at risk, maybe the other grant and aid program. But the county gives out about $800,000. I may have a little birdie that told me that may go up a little bit this year, so there may be some more funding available for that. We, again, administer for the homeless services programs support. So again, we are not your direct contact for homeless individuals. So if someone's coming in and visiting one of your agencies that is homeless, we want them referred to Harford Community Action Agency. Harford Community Action Agency is going to screen that person and refer them back to whatever the appropriate program is. That may be shelter. We do, of course, provide shelter support to all of the shelters, financial support to all of them to operate. And we are the continuum of care lead for Harford County. So basically that's the group that reports back to the federal government on what our homeless situation is. So we happen to be doing our point in time count tonight. That's why Brian had to leave. He's running our Aberdeen team. Point in time count is during the last 10 days of January every year. HUD requires all jurisdictions to basically take a point in time count of what their homeless situation looks like. So we want to get an accurate assessment of what does our homeless population look like, both living in a place not meant for human habitation or in one of our shelters or one of those programs. So that occurs tonight. Tomorrow is our Project Homeless Connect. I hope you all have seen the flyers for that and provided the flyers for that to anybody who may be in need. Project Homeless Connect is a one-day resource fair, essentially, where we bring a lot of service providers in that people can get direct services on the spot. A lot of times people come in needing multiple services, as I'm sure all of you know. We're going to try and get them as many of those services as we can that day, and we want them leaving with a plan in place to get the rest of those services that day if they can. We have on-the-spot dental care, we have vision care. They can get prescription glasses ordered that tomorrow. They'll be delivered, I think, within 10 days, something like that. What is it? Birth certificates, IDs, free cell phones tomorrow. So a lot of programs at our Project Homeless Connect event. It's at APG-FCU, Hartford Community College.
Do they have to be Hartford County residents?
No. So the question was, do they have to be Hartford County residents? The answer is no. That is open to anyone that can get there. Generally speaking, the majority of the people are Hartford County residents. We get some from Cecil. We do have transportation pickups at Epicenter, Festival Park in Aberdeen, Mason-Dixon Community Services, and I believe Hartford Mall or the courthouse, one of the two. Hartford County Courthouse. And that's basically hourly. They're going to be doing shuttle transportation. So we want people to get there if at all possible. This was last year's point in time information. As I mentioned, the next point in time count is tonight. So this will be updated soon. We also administer the voucher program. As of the end of November, we had 936 leased. We generally go in the range of 920 to up to 1,000, depending on funding availability. The government is back in business. They did shut down for a couple days, but they're open again. So we're still getting funded and everything is good for now. All subject to change. That's just the Housing Choice Voucher Program. That program is basically what everybody knows is Section 8 program. Our wait list is open. I think Lenore is going to talk a little bit about that. We would say any clients that you get them on our wait list as soon as possible. The wait list is very long. So we basically distribute vouchers as other people go off of the program. The only reasons people go off of the program, honestly, the biggest reason people go off of the program is death, right? So that's the most attrition we have. We do get some family self-sufficient clients who have made enough money that they've priced themselves out, and we do have some people that get kicked off of the program, but the biggest attrition factor is generally either a death in the family or something like that. That's not the only program we administer. We also administer the rental allowance program. I think Ms. Robbins is going to talk about that a little bit too, so I'm not going to get into the details. We have VASH, Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing. Obviously for veterans, that referral is always going to come from the VA. So the case manager at the VA is going to check to make sure that they have a valid DD 214 or 218, whatever that is. They'll check for eligibility and refer them to us. We have mainstream vouchers, which is non-elderly disabled individuals. Obviously, we partner closely with ARC for a lot of those clients. CDBG, so we administer the Community Development Block Grant. That application is open right now also. It's eligible to, I believe, just nonprofits, but you can see we gave out almost $1 million last year in Community Development Block Grant money. That is limited. Certain programs are limited, so we're limited to a 15% service cap. What that basically means is only 15% of that money can go towards like day-to-day operation of programs. The rest is more of a sticks and bricks. So it's really building programs. Okay. So that includes community improvement projects. So our senior centers will be using CDBG money, or at least some CDBG money. It does go into parks and athletic fields, preservation of some historical buildings, definitely accessibility upgrades, sidewalk road repairs, and improvements to like shelters and things like that. That's where a lot of that money is going to be going. Some of our recent projects includes Welcome One Emergency Homeless Shelter. That is the operation. The public service part of that was operation. We do fund Habitat for Humanity's ramp and repair program through that. So any eligible, again, that's income eligibility on that, all through Habitat for Humanity, but anybody that you come across that may need a ramp to get into their house or a roof, things like that, we really want to keep people stable and in their own home as much as possible. We don't want them going into homelessness because they can't afford a repair to their house. If they can't get it through that ramp repair program, there are other programs available. Either we administer out of our office some of the home repair loan programs. The state, DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development for the state, has a home repair loan program. Again, everything's income eligible with criteria, but if you come across somebody who's having a need, that's the level that maybe you can call me about something like that. I try and think outside the box as much as possible. I try and think of ways to come up to help people stay in their home as much as possible. So those are the type of things we want to help. You can see we helped about 15,348 citizens through CDBG. We also do loans for affordable housing projects. This is a picture of Riverwoods at Tollgate. If you haven't seen that project, that's behind the Target, Greatland, and Walmart in Abingdon. It's a beautiful project. That's what affordable housing looks like now. It's not what I think most people look at. It's not what they have in their mind when they think of affordable housing. That's what it looks like now. That's what we support, building new projects to support our community. This has Section 811 units, which is for those with certain disabilities. They have vouchers in this complex, and they have some market rate units in this project, so it's a nice mix. This talks a little bit about our nonprofit support, grant and aid. FY18, we had $646,000 that we gave out. Again, that's general operating support for local nonprofits. We do offer grant writing assistance and training, and you can use that as match contribution for other grants that you may be writing for. We administer the home program. I'm not really going to get into that. Basically, that supports new construction of affordable housing. This is some of our counseling services. So we have rental counseling, budget counseling, eviction prevention, first-time home buyer, which we have a monthly workshop on, post-purchase home ownership, default delinquency, and reverse mortgages. We've kind of gotten out of the reverse mortgage business a little bit. We do have a new housing counselor starting with us mid-February who is HECM certified, so we do have that reverse mortgage counseling services coming back to our office. We are going to be offering them again. Again, that's not our priority though, so that's a service that we happen to offer. But as much as possible, we want to talk to people about stability and not necessarily going that route, because a lot of times we found that it could be harmful to the families after that. That just kind of gives you an idea of the area income that we were counseling last year on our number of clients. That's our housing inspections. Again, it's more livability code complaints, so if you have anybody that you think may have a livability issue, please refer them to my office. Trends just in general, this is over the last few years. HUD's been moving away from transitional housing and towards rapid rehousing. So the idea being that you take somebody who's maybe homeless, put them right into housing, and then once they're in that house, you introduce all the supports and try and get them to get connected as much as possible. Needs 24/7. Obviously, our current shelter, which HCA slide was a little bit old, they actually have 33 beds, 27 male, 6 female, year-round, and that's only at night. We don't have a day shelter at this point. So we just note that a year-round 24/7 open shelter for individuals. The other reason I say open there, I know a lot of people had difficulty getting into the shelter for a long time, and that was because of not being able to pass a drug test, things like that. That restriction has been removed from the shelter. So as of October 1st of this past year, I believe it was October 1st, might have been November 1st, they moved towards not requiring the drug test for entry. They are still, if you're a danger to yourself or others, you will not be allowed in, but they are not actively screening for entrance through that drug and alcohol test. That said, again, we don't want people who are visibly inebriated going to the shelter, but it has opened it up a little bit more for our people.
You said 27 beds for males
And 6 for women
Okay, thank you.
right now. And then again, Brian mentioned the emergency rotating shelter that opened towards the end of December, and that goes until the beginning of March. Depending on the number of churches each week, I know at least for the next 4 weeks, we have 2 churches covering each week. Each church houses up to 20 individuals, so we could house 40 additional to that 33. We have beds for another 40 for the next at least 4 or 5 weeks. Some weeks it may go down to 20. And we do, another thing on their slide that is a little bit dated, it talked about motel placement. That used to be what we did with people overflow in the winter. That's not what we do anymore. We do have some motel money set aside, but it's more for medically fragile individuals or families. So families with children, obviously, we're not going to put them in a shelter with a bunch of individuals. And if our family with children beds are filled, which we have a couple, Anna's house and her family house that handles some of those, then we are going to refer them into hotel as needed. So that's generally what we got. Lenore, you want to talk about how to get us is the big thing. We got like a little bit over half an hour. I ran through that pretty quick. And then the other thing, a lot of what I do is landlord recruitment and landlord retention. So I'm trying to go out and get people to work with our programs. So that's another thing that's on there. Affordable rentals with landlords willing to rent to individuals with less than perfect backgrounds. So come on up. So Miss Robinson is here, Lenore Robinson from my office. She is the one that you want to call about anything. She is our community resource navigator. Yep. Generally speaking, if I ever have a question, she's the one I call. So
I get a lot of emails, trust me, but I don't tweet.